Alright friends, welcome back to SNT Health and Environment. This is 12th week and we are going to deliberate on 4 issues. One is Europe and Russia launched a spacecraft under the ExoMars program to know about the signs of life on Mars. Second point is Atomic Energy Regulatory Board classified the nuclear accident of Kakrapar Atomic Power Station as level 1. There are 7 levels in nuclear accidents, and who determines and what is the classification of these nuclear accidents? We are going to deliberate on that. India is going to ratify Paris Pact along with 100 nations on April 22. What do you understand by this Paris Climate Pact? Then Union Health Ministry pulled up the state licensing authorities for giving licenses for the manufacture of fixed dose combinations without prior clearance from CDSCO. So these are the 4 issues we are going to deliberate. First one is Europe and Russia launched a spacecraft to know about the signs of life on Mars. This is under the ExoMars 2016. It is under the ExoMars program, and it consists of trace gas orbiter and lander. The name of the rocket is Russian Proton M rocket and launched from Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, and it takes 7 months to reach Mars and is basically to study the presence of methane on Mars, right? And before going further, let us learn a bit about methane. It is present in Earth's atmosphere in organic form. All of you are familiar with this. This is a CH4. It is the simplest alkane. Alkane is nothing but a saturated hydrocarbon. It is abundantly available on Earth in gaseous form because under normal temperature and pressures, this methane is available in gaseous form. And please don't forget, this atmospheric methane concentration increased by 150% since 1750. All of you are well aware, the concentration of carbon dioxide or CO2 in the atmosphere increased by around 40 to 50% after 1750, but the concentration of methane increased by around 150%. And among the greenhouse gases, the first one is carbon dioxide. If you leave water vapor, the second one is methane. So please don't forget, methane is also one of the greenhouse gases, right? So with this in background, let us look at the 2 missions to probe Mars. The first mission, which European Space Agency and Russia launched recently, and at the same time, please don't forget, European Space Agency, ESA, is the initiative of several European countries, and at the same time Roscosmos is the space program of Russia, right? So these 2 things please don't forget. This program is jointly run by European Space Agency in association with Roscosmos, and if you look at the 2 missions to probe Mars, this is the first mission which was launched recently. This is known as the Trace Gas Orbiter mission, and the main purpose of this mission is to search for evidence of methane and other trace gases, right? Methane formation may be due to biological factors or geological factors. We are going to look at it sometime later. Another important point is Trace Gas Orbiter will put this Schiaparelli, this is the lander, onto the Mars surface. So ultimately, this Schiaparelli will be landed onto the Mars surface, and it will take 7 months to reach Mars. This is the first mission. The second mission is going to be in the year 2018, and it is known as ExoMars rover. The first mission is ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter mission, which was launched recently. The second one is ExoMars rover. The main purpose of the mission in 2018 is to dig into the Mars surface, because there is suspicion that methane was covered under permafrost. You may ask, what is permafrost? Permafrost is the soil always in icy form. So this below the permafrost, there is a suspicion that methane may be available. So as to dig into the Mars surface, this second ExoMars mission is expected to be launched in 2018. That is known as ExoMars rover. So the first mission is just to investigate trace gases. The second mission is to dig into the surface, right? So let us go back a little bit. Schiaparelli investigations and advent of exobiology. These terms I am introducing. Schiaparelli was the famous astronomer of Italy, and this exobiology is the term coined by the Nobel laureate. And instantly, this Schiaparelli is the name given to the lander under this first mission of ExoMars. Just now we have seen Schiaparelli is the name given to the lander. That means the instrument which is going to be launched onto the Mars surface. The name given is Schiaparelli, and this Schiaparelli is named after the famous astronomer of Italy. And he observed bright and dark straight line features on Mars in the 19th century, and he called them as canali or canal. So initially it was thought that these canals or channels had been built on Mars surface and which formed a huge irrigation network. That was the initial theory or hypothesis on Mars. But in the 20th century, due to the advent of better telescopes, scientists discounted the above theory and searched for the presence of water. And later, in the mid-20th century, Nobel laureate in medicine Joshua Lederberg, he is United States of America based Nobel laureate in medicine, and he coined the word exobiology. Sometimes it is also known as bioastronomy or astrobiology. That means combining the features of astronomy and biology, right? So the goal of this exobiology is to find signs of life beyond Earth. Beyond Earth, whether life exists or not. That is the prime motto of this exobiology. So the subject of exobiology is the recent innovation. The main purpose is to find signs of life beyond Earth. And you may ask a pertinent question, why so much emphasis on life on Mars? Why Mars? Why not Venus? Why not Uranus? There was this suspicion for the past several years that water existed previously and methane also existed. In the northern hemisphere, recent investigations have shown, I am talking about the northern hemisphere of Mars, recent investigations have shown that methane traces are available in the atmosphere, right? And if you want more about this Mars, Mars is named after Roman god of war. The red color is due to the presence of iron oxide dust, please don't forget. And like Earth, Mars has seasons, polar ice caps, volcanoes, canyons, deserts and weather. And Mars has the highest volcano and deepest canyon in our solar system. These things please don't forget. And let us come back to the issue why Mars is for these experiments. Because the investigations for the past several years have pointed out to the presence of water as well as presence of methane, right? So Mars is chosen and NASA is doing several experiments for the past several years. Now this mission of ExoMars is to look into the aspect of presence of methane, right? So this trace gas orbiter or TGO will place this Schiaparelli onto the Mars so as to look at the prospect of availability of methane. And if methane is found, there are two probable reasons. One reason is microorganisms called methanogens either became extinct millions of years ago. That means they were in existence long ago, but subsequently they became extinct, leaving the gas frozen below the planet's surface under the permafrost, leaving this gas. And at present the traces are available because of the favorable atmospheric conditions of temperature and pressure. Or the second reason may be methanogens are still active or in existence. So, if methane is available, there are two probable reasons. First one is either because of existence of methanogens long time back, or methanogens are still in existence. And in addition to the presence of life forms previously, there may be another reason for presence of methane. The presence of methane may be due to geological phenomena such as oxidation of iron. So, these things are to be investigated by the trace gas orbiter. So, right friends, let us wait for the investigations of trace gas orbiter. Look into the next issue. Atomic Energy Regulatory Board classified the nuclear accident of Kakrapar Atomic Power Station as level 1, and not many details are available with regard to the nuclear accident, and it is classified as incident as per the classification, please don't forget. And there was the leakage of heavy water in Kakrapar Atomic Power Station. This atomic power station is situated in Gujarat near Surat, and this grading of nuclear accidents is done as per International Nuclear and Radiological Event Scale, and this scale is devised by International Atomic Energy Agency, which is in Vienna, Austria. If someone asks where is IAEA, it is in Vienna, Austria, and it devised the scale 7-point scale, and 1 to 3 are classified as incidents and 4 to 7 are classified as accidents. Out of this 1 to 3 classification, one is anomaly, second one is incident, and the third one is serious incident. And the recent failure at the Kakrapar Atomic Power Station is classified as anomaly, so it is not that serious. Right friends, look into the next issue. The next issue is India will ratify Paris Pact along with 100 nations on April 22. All of you are well aware, Climate Summit, popularly known as the COP21, was held in Paris during November-December 2015. It was held from November 30 to December 12 in Paris, and several world leaders attended that summit, and several decisions were taken, and the prime goal of that climate summit is to ensure the global temperatures not more than 2 degrees centigrade by the year 2100 in comparison to pre-industrial levels of 1750. And for that purpose, so as to control carbon emissions, each and every country announced INDCs, intended nationally determined contributions, and these INDCs are intended to reduce carbon emissions, and all the nations announced INDCs, and these INDCs, or you can say this Paris Pact, which was concluded on December 12, is going to be ratified on April 22. You may ask a pertinent question, why April 22 is taken? April 22 we celebrate as Earth Day, and at the same time, please don't forget, the flag for Earth Day was designed by peace activist John McConnell. And if you look at the INDCs submitted by India, I am just reiterating once again, India aims to cut its carbon emissions per unit of GDP by 33 to 35% by 2030 from 2005 levels, and India will achieve 40% of its cumulative installed capacity of power generation from non-fossil based energy sources. And India will provide a carbon sink of 2.5 to 3 billion tons of carbon dioxide equivalent, basically by providing forest cover. And for ensuring this by 2030, India requires at least $2.5 trillion at 2014-15 prices. So these 4 are India's INDCs. Like that, all the countries submitted INDCs, and these INDCs are going to be ratified on April 22 on the Earth Day, right? So 100 countries are going to sign this pact, and India is going to be one among them. And if you look at the carbon emissions further, China is leading in CO2 emissions. Please don't forget, China is leading in CO2 emissions, but if you look at the per capita emissions, that is United States of America is leading. These things don't forget. And carbon dioxide emissions increased enormously after industrialization. After the middle of 20th century, these carbon dioxide emissions increased drastically. And in the year 1750, the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere was 280 ppm, and now it is around 400 ppm. There is an increase of around 40 to 50% in carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere in comparison to 1750, and carbon dioxide is the prominent greenhouse gas. What is meant by greenhouse gas? Greenhouse gas is, it traps heat and leads to global warming. And if someone asks what is the largest greenhouse gas, that is carbon dioxide, and it is released into the atmosphere primarily due to the burning of fossil fuels. And the second most abundant greenhouse gas is methane. Please don't forget, just now we have discussed about methane, and these greenhouse gases will trap the heat in the atmosphere, which will lead to rise in temperatures, which is known as global warming. If you look at the pre-industrial period of 1750, 13.7 degrees centigrade was the global average temperature, and at present it crossed almost 13.7 degrees centigrade plus 0.8 degrees centigrade. That means it increased by 0.8 degrees centigrade in comparison to pre-industrial level. Some newspapers say that it already crossed 13.7 degrees centigrade plus 1 degree centigrade. The main purpose of COP21 is to limit global average temperatures to 13.7 plus 2 degrees centigrade by the year 2100. And you may ask a pertinent question, what will happen because of global warming? Global temperatures are to be limited, or there is a need to restrict global temperatures so as to prevent the melting of icy glaciers, so as to prevent the rise of sea levels, so as to reduce the intensity and occurrence of hurricanes and other storms, so as to reduce the intensity and occurrence of floods and droughts across the world. Right? And pertinently, I would like to put forth two important points as far as environment is concerned, which is of global concern, that is acid rain. Frequently you hear about acid rain. Acid rain is due to the release of sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides into the atmosphere, and major man-made release of sulfur dioxide is due to the burning of fossil fuels. Thermal power plants release maximum sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere, and so as to prevent the release of sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere, you have to use coal free of sulfur, or the other option is you have to install scrubbers in the power plants. Scrubbers prevent the release of this sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere. Then other major gas which is resulting in acid rain is nitrogen oxides. Nitrogen oxides are released primarily due to internal combustion engines, and so as to prevent the release of nitrogen oxides into the atmosphere, you have to provide catalytic converters in the automobiles. So if you provide catalytic converters, this nitrogen oxides release can be prevented. So if someone asks acid rain, please don't forget sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides are the main reasons. Please look into this slide. This sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides will result in formation of nitric acid and sulfuric acid, and trees will be affected like this because of acid rain. The third important concern as far as environment is concerned, that is destruction of ozone layer. Chlorofluorocarbons are mainly responsible for depletion of ozone layer. So to reduce global warming, this Paris Pact is going to be signed, or you can say Climate Pact is going to be signed on April 22, and other two areas of concern for human beings or for the environment are acid rain and depletion of ozone layer, and these are being controlled to some extent. Right friends, if someone asks major environmental problems, please don't forget global warming, acid rain, depletion of ozone layer. Look into the last issue, Union Health Ministry pulled up the state licensing authorities for granting licenses to manufacture fixed dose combination drugs without prior clearance from CDSCO. You may ask, what is CDSCO? CDSCO is Central Drugs Standard Control Organization, and it is under the Ministry of Health, Government of India, and we are going to look at the functions a short while from now. And meanwhile, the issue is with regard to this fixed dose combinations. Recently, government banned 344 fixed dose combination drugs, and in this context, the Union Health Ministry pulled up the state licensing authorities. Why the central government pulled up states? Because of the reason state governments are giving licenses to FDCs. But as per the rule, FDCs, fixed dose combinations, falling under the definition of new drugs, require permission from Drug Controller General of India, who functions under CDSCO. So, as per the powers vested with the central government, or you can say as per Drugs and Cosmetics Act, the Central Drug Authority is the CDSCO, and CDSCO is vested with main functions. First one is regulatory control over the import of drugs. Second one is approval of new drugs. Third one is approval of clinical trials. Fourth one is fixed dose combinations covered under the definition of new drugs. So, for all these things, CDSCO has to give permission, not the state drug licensing authorities. Several state licensing authorities have given licenses for fixed dose combinations, which subsequently resulted in the ban of 344 combination drugs recently. So, under these circumstances, Union Health Ministry is warning to state licensing authorities not to grant licenses to manufacture FDCs is the pertinent point. Right, last week we discussed something about FDCs, and this is in addition to what we have learnt previously. Right friends, with this let us conclude the science and technology, health and environment. We are going to deliberate on the issues like this every week. Right friends, have a nice day. Thank you.